All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, do I have a very special guest for you, all the way from the West Coast, Berkeley, California.
Oh yeah, Berkeley, California.
Beautiful Berkeley, California. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been, you're missing out. All right. Please put your hands together for the one and only Simon Lunche.
What an intro. Thank you so much for having me, Ty. And dang, bro, I haven't heard that much of a hype up for Berkeley from anyone who doesn't live here. I don't think ever. So I love that.
Okay, so, just a little tidbit about me, this show originated in Los Angeles. So I was living in LA not that long ago. So I know all about, Berkeley, this, that, and other. So I know, so I'll draw like a little picture for, the audience and everything out there. So you don't have to worry about that.
I love it. People who know the West Coast, it's perfect. That California life.
Man, that California life. Yes, yes, oh yes, sunshine. All right. But man, let's sort of get into it. Let's talk about this EP, Never Knew the Night. Now, this debuted, a few, months ago, but tell us about this process. How did that come about and how's it going now?
Well, for me, it was kind of a crazy experience because that record, I had never spent anywhere near as much time on a project as I did on that, just because I was coming out of being in a band where I was the singer and the writer and the producer in that band as well, but still transitioning into being a solo artist and trying to figure out, all right, how is my sound going to shift here? Simple things like figuring out, I'm going to play more guitar than I've ever played on this record, because all of a sudden I'm the lead guitar player. I'm no longer this rhythm guitar player. And then finding people that I really was passionate about working with, because, as I'm sure you can surmise, being with a band, it's like the same people play the same instruments the whole time, and there's no sort of, fluctuation there. It's just kind of as it is. So it was really interesting for me to be in this place of like, oh, who's going to play bass? Who's going to play drums on this song? It was really a process of like just building the whole thing back up. And then once I finally had that crew of people, spending almost 2 years recording and producing and writing those songs.
Right.
And man, like I said, I never had spent that long on a project, and that was sort of, it's still to this day sort of a little bit of a love-hate thing, because all the time I spent on it, it's like by the time the songs came out, I'm like, oh my God, I've heard all of these, thousands and thousands of times.
Right.
Everyone else is hearing it that first time. And at the same time, like all of that work that went into it just like gave me such amazing experience and working with people that I had never had, and made me a better musician by a million times. So there's the short of it.
Right. Now, you know what? I'm glad that you said that, and you hit on a few other things as well, because I want to talk a little bit about the mentality that goes into, okay, I start off in a band, and we're going to talk about the band in a second, but you start off, you're in the band. So as you said before, man, it's just you and a group of others. One person's going to play the drums. This person's going to, play, keys or what have you. I'm on guitar. Okay, all right, I'm writing. Someone else may do the background or what have you.
Yeah.
Like mentally, how does what's the process in that, going from, okay, I'm around these guys all the time, now I'm going solo, and now I have to figure this out all by myself?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a funny duality to it, because in one sense, there's this like real comfort that you feel in a band, knowing that, all right, when we come into rehearsal, we come into record, we come into practice, whatever, it's like, I've got people who are going to be ready to play these songs, and there's no sort of question marks anywhere. Like I said, oh, he's going to play keys, you know, I'm going to play guitar. And there's a real like security in that, you know, you feel like your music is going to happen. And then there's also this sort of sense as you get deeper in it at times of like feeling a little bit boxed in terms of like, oh, if so-and-so is not, you know, a player, not good at this type of playing, right, then they're still going to play it. So it's, you know, it's just going to be how it is. Mm-hmm. And so there's those two things with it, you know, and then you transfer out of that situation. And for me, I think, like I mentioned, I was already doing all the writing and the production. So that was sort of just, that wasn't something that was, you know, added to my plate. It was just sort of already there. And I loved doing that stuff. I loved to paint the whole picture. But it was more like, again, walking into a situation where I'm thinking, who's going to do this? Who's going to play this bass? Who's going to play this, you know? And like there being that question mark there and that uncertainty, and that being a little bit at times just like, you know, not scary, but can be a little bit like, oh, of a downer when you don't have anyone yet and you're ready to press record on something and you're inspired. Yeah. And you're waiting to find that person who's right to do the job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and pretty much to that point, as you said, you have everything, you know, ready to go. Hey, you know what, man, I have vocals, I have this, I have that, man, okay, but, and you know, the people that I used to lean on, I'm not leaning on them now, you know, I'm like going in a totally different direction. So as you said, you know, finding the people to help you put, you know, together, you know, and we're going to talk about them as well, because as we were saying before we got started, you know, you're just not rolling around with just anybody, you know, like you really took time. And, you know, that goes into planning, you know, like, here's my thing. Sometimes, you know, for those of us who may not be in a band, for those of us who may not be as musically inclined to be in a band or play an instrument or do anything, you know, of that nature, from the outside looking in, we're figuring, you know, well, hey, you know, this person's leaving this band, you know, they're going solo, they're doing this. So, you know, they must have everything all together, you know, but, you know, from the other side, like, well, no, it's not really like that. You know? Right. So,
it's when you exit that situation that you're forced to figure those things out, really, you know, especially like if you're like me and like I was playing with the same group of guys for probably almost 10 years when I was younger.
Okay. Yes.
So I had no reason to branch out and be like, oh, let me get someone else, because I was just having a great time. I was being a kid. We were getting to play all these shows. We got to make a bunch of records, and like I had no reason to need anything else besides that, because I was so content with it. But
okay, so let's like dig a little bit, you know, deeper, you know, for those who may not be, you know, as familiar with your story.
Yeah.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you a couple of accolades about, you know, Mr. Lunche over here. Okay, all right. So look, basically at the age of 5, being influenced by Eric Clapton, icon, legend. If you don't know, look it up. There's Google, there's Spotify, there's everything, you know, go right ahead, you know, but being influenced by that type of, you know, person, singer, songwriter, just like Clapton, guitar, just like Clapton. I'm not saying he's Eric Clapton, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying the influence, you know, starting the band at 9, you know, being endorsed by Gibson at 13. You know, like these are special accolades, especially in the music world, and to, you know, have that, you know, culture coming up, you know, look, big things. So let's talk about this group, the Blondies. All right. Now, we've been like talking about it for, you know, here and there, what have you, but how did all this start?
Man, well, we knew each other from various little places, and a group of guys ended up getting put together when I was younger, and we ended up starting to play, and I was writing songs. And then, you know, over the course of probably the first year, again, like you said, I was like 9 years old, so I'm really little at this point. A few of the guys were, you know, a few years older than me, but there was a few that left, and because I had friends who, oh, he plays bass, I'll bring him in, you know, he plays drums. And we ended up forming this group that at first, again, was just like a little kid thing. And as time went on, got a lot more serious, and we ended up touring, and we ended up making all these records. And to be honest with you, when I was younger, I felt like I would probably just be in that band forever.
Right.
Just because it was, you know, it was just rolling along. And even though like I was writing most of the songs and whatnot, like it just felt like a natural thing that was working, and it sounded good, and it, you know, it was what I wanted it to be. And it's not until, you know, after I graduated high school, when you really kind of get faced with the tougher things, where again, you've got a few of the guys who are a bit older than me already. They were already in college, and I'm graduating school going like, all right, it's time to tour. And for a year, two of those guys were taking time off just to tour with the band.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was great. And you know, I think they would still to this day, they wouldn't regret that, or, you know, they had, but ended up deciding like, oh, we want to finish college, and we want to, you know, which is, again, it's like totally valid. But
Really?
I was in this mindset of like, man, I've been looking forward to this forever, to just like have all this time on my plate where I'm not having to go to class, to be able to go play music and make music and play shows. And basically it just came down to like, hey guys, like I can't stop, you know, because I don't have, you know, I'm not going to go to school, I don't have anything else.
Right.
And that's when it became sort of like, it was while we were on tour, actually, when I was, you know, sitting probably in the Airbnb writing, and I started thinking to myself like, oh, these songs that I'm writing right now, these aren't going to be Blondie songs, these are going to be Simon songs.
Okay. All right. Stay with me now. Bing, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so how does the musical lens, like, all right, as you said, 9 years old, writing, you know, you're like younger, you know, in the group, you know, these guys are a little bit older, you know, you're writing songs, but now you're at this stage like, okay, it's a little bit more advanced now. Like this, as you just said, these can't be Blondie songs. These have to be Simon songs.
Right.
Like, how has that lens changed over time?
I mean, to be honest, when that happened, it was a little bit like, it was forced upon me a little bit. And I was a little bit scared of it because I didn't want the band to end, you know, I wanted to be part of that band. And it was really just like, it's those more adult factors that come into play of like, they want to finish college, I'm not on that path, you know, I'm playing music. And that was a little bit sad for me at the time. And honestly, I was a little scary because I didn't want to give up on the band yet. But once I sort of made that, like had that realization fully and like committed to that decision, it just started flowing, which was great. And all these things changed. Like for instance, like the guitar sort of example I used earlier is such a great thing. Like as soon as I made that decision, it was like, all right, I'm the lead guitar player now. So I'm writing guitar parts for myself to play. And I have to come up with like, what is my voice on the guitar as a lead player, rather than just being a rhythm player who's also singing.
Okay.
And I wanted my guitar playing on Simon songs to be as, not as important, but as unique of a voice as my singing voice was. So it's telling just as much of the story. And that was honestly a nice thing because like you mentioned, I started playing because I heard Eric Clapton, who's this phenomenal guitar player, when I was younger. And then I kind of took a back seat with that once I learned how to play. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be the rhythm player and let someone else be the lead player, and I'll sing and, you know, write all the songs. And and it was kind of an interesting moment for me to feel like, oh, I can sort of reclaim that bit of myself that I really wanted to be when I was younger, of like being this lead guitar player, you know, and like really speaking with the instrument.
Right.
That I haven't been doing for years. So honestly, like I probably spent like the whole following year while I was writing, also playing way more guitar than I had played, because I'm just trying to figure out, again, it's like, how can I speak with the instrument more?
Right.
Right. And that was great because I started getting on stage, and like people started telling me like pretty quickly, they started going, man, I just like love to come and listen to you play guitar, which I had never heard before. That was like over the course of the Simon stuff, my favorite thing to hear.
Right.
And evolving into now where I'm like, you know, I was really focused on that and had a lot of guitar and stuff. It's like now I'm trying to find this balance where it's like, which I think is going to end up being even more authentic in a way where, all right, I've got this part of me now that can play great guitar, that can play lead guitar that I know people love and they want to come see me do. And I'm also going to reinfuse some of this stuff that production wise I love, but I didn't use on my first stuff, like this symphonic stuff, or like I love strings, I love orchestral things, and I used it a lot on Blondies records, but I stopped using it when I started playing so much guitar on the first. So I'm now in this place of like trying to blend all that together. So now you've got new Simon, old Simon, and hopefully a more authentic current Simon.
Well, no, look, you know, you really, you know, spoke to something when you were talking about not only, you know, finding your voice musically, but as far as the sound goes, you know,
yeah,
especially if you're used to playing like a certain type of way, you know, or if people are used to a certain type of like rhythm, you
right.
know, and now, you know, I'm not about that life anymore. I'm about the solo life. This is really me, you know, and this is my, you know, evolution as an artist coming out, you know. Sometimes, you know, that can be hard for consumers and, you know, hardcore fans or whatever to like deal with, because they've always, you know, well, look, I grew up on these guys and now, you know, this guy is this guy, and, you know, I wish they would all just be these guys. Like, look, you know, I'm sorry, people, you know, life happens, you know.
Yeah, for real.
I'm sorry.
For real.
Life
happens. You're so right. And you know, you definitely saw like a portion of Blondies fans that didn't carry over into being Simon fans, you know, but so many of them did too. And I think it was nice that like a lot of people by the end there of the Blondies and like coming into my solo thing sort of recognized that like, oh, he's writing all the songs anyway. So whatever we're going to get on a Simon record is going to be just the continuation or what was going to be the natural next step anyway.
Right.
So that was like, I think that made people feel good. And then I also gained a lot of new fans just being myself and being solo that I probably wouldn't have gained if I was still in the band. So, you know, it's an ebb and flow, plus and minuses to both. And
come on, man, come on.
Gotta roll with it.
Come on, Simon, now look here. We're blending over here. We're blending. All right, okay. Now, let's talk about some of these people you are hanging out with now. You know, we were talking about production and things of that nature. Look, you Grammy award winning. Grammy award winning, same thing. But look, let's just talk about some of these people you're hanging out with, okay? Engineer Dave Reitzes?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave was my first like real friend in the LA music scene after I got out of the band. And that was like me literally like I think one of my sort of better qualities and also worse qualities probably at times is that I just like I'm always shooting super high. Mm-hmm. And so coming out of the band, when I'm like, who do I want to work with? I was literally like trying to hit up my favorite people in the whole industry, like people who made the records that I loved. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sitting there thinking to myself, oh, I'm a young artist, why would they want to work with me? I was sitting there thinking, I'm going to just try, you know?
There you go.
I'm going to send them some music. I'm going to write a good message and I'm going to see if they'll listen. And obviously out of, you know, all the people that you hit up, when you're young, you don't have a lot of credibility, not many are going to respond. You're going to get a lot of no's, you're going to get a lot of non-responses, but it only takes one yes, right? And Dave was like the one guy when I started working on my own stuff that was like the yes, that believed in me. And I'll never forget like sending him a message and it had a demo in it. And he sent me a message back like later that evening, and he goes, he's like, "Hey Simon, I haven't listened yet. Not really sure I have much time to take on something else, but if I give it a listen, I'll let you know." And literally like that same night, like way later, he ends up hitting me back and he goes, "Hey Simon, it's Dave. I just listened. I love this. Like, I would love to work on it with you." And that was huge for me, because that was a caliber of person that, even though I'd been making music for my whole life, I'd never worked with someone that amazing at what they did. And we ended up doing a lot of work at Westlake in LA, and he ended up mixing a bunch of stuff. And he's the one who ended up introducing me to Sean Hurley, who plays bass for me now and is now a great friend. And I heard him playing on all the John Mayer stuff that I loved, and Shawn Mendes and various things that I thought the bass sounded great on. And it was because of Dave, when Dave was going, "Well, who do you want to play bass?" And I gave him a list of like I just said, I shoot for the stars. So of like my favorite bass players.
Right.
And Sean was at the top of that list, and Dave going, "Well, I don't know him personally, but I mixed a record that he was on. So let me see if I can get his number." And Dave getting his number and then calling him up, and Sean being in the session like 2 days later. And we've been great friends since. But I think that's like an important thing that I was affirmed to me there, of like, and a lot of people say it, it's like, you're going to get a lot of no's. People are going to, a lot of non-responses, whatever, but you can't, play yourself down, or you can't not shoot for the stars, because you got to do that to get that one yes,
Yes,
and
you do. Yes,
that one yes for me was Dave, and a great dude, been a great friend, obviously great at his job, and super grateful for everything he's done for me. So,
well, man, like, big up to like Dave, big up to Sean, big up to Aaron Sterling.
Aaron, yeah, another fantastic player, probably one of the best drummers in the country, in my opinion. I think he was just phenomenal. And that, like, playing with those guys, it's crazy. Like being younger, and even though I'd played for 15 years already, like,
yeah,
those dudes are so good that they just like kick your ass in the best way, and you get better just playing with them.
Yeah.
Which is like, man, you hear people say you want to be the worst one in the room, and that was like, when I started playing with those guys, that was like one of those experiences of, I'm the worst one in the room right now, and it just like elevating my game so much, and teaching me so much about like what a record could sound like, how great a record could be. And then once you know that, it's like, I'm a producer too, I produce a lot of my stuff. Once you know how great something can sound, then you have a target to hit, and you just keep going until you get to that spot where that's it, it's that great now. Which is, I'm still always trying to hit something, that I haven't hit yet, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, man, look here, and it sounds as if you're like really, just on the cusp of like greater things to come, because, not only do you have this project, but you have other things, cooking,
A lot of things in the works, always.
A lot of things in the works. We can't talk about that right now because that's top secret. You got to wait for that to come out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Just know that there's other things in the works. And, like if people, man, want to hear, your music, man, if they want the EP, they want everything, how can people get in contact with you?
Man, well, they hear it. Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, anything you can possibly think of, just by typing in Simon Lunche. And like we talked about earlier, it's just like lunchtime, but with an E at the end. So Lunche. So you can type that in, hear the EP, hear everything. And then Instagram, Twitter, same thing, at Simon Lunche. And I'm a big Instagram boy, so you can follow me over there and get the majority of my content.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him on the gram. He will,
Oh, yeah.
Contact him. He'll contact you back. All right. That's what it is. So now, look, before we get out of here, I got to ask the question that my show is known for. All right. Mr. singer, songwriter, producer, Simon Lunche. What is the one word that best describes you and why?
I would probably go with romantic. And I don't mean that just in like a lovey way. I mean that in terms of like just, I think a big part of being a songwriter for anyone is romanticizing a lot of situations, you know, and making them really colorful in your mind and then spitting that back out into a song. And I think I just view life through that lens, you know. Everything that happens to me, I remember it all, you know, even stuff that was 10, 12, 15 years ago. It's like recallable like it's yesterday. And all of those things get mixed up in a pot, get romanticized into these tunes that I love. So I would use romantic.
Okay, there it is. Look, I like it, you know, and you know, as I said before, I just want to thank you for coming onto the platform today, talking to us, you know, about everything that's going on. Look here, ladies and gentlemen, soul pop. All right, you know,
soul pop,
you know, that's just what it is. That's the sound, you know, but he's working on some other things. Check him out. Simon Lunche, Lunche with an E. All right, on all streaming platforms. Okay, all streaming platforms. Go check him out. And look, check out Never Knew Tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow, or just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful conversation plus other great conversations. Mr. Simon Lunche. Thank you. We out, y'all. Peace.